Hello and welcome to another Solid Signal podcast. Today's October 28th, 2013, and this is one of the last podcasts we'll do for the year. I guess about 8 left. Pretty amazing that we've been going at this since January, and I haven't run out of anything to say yet. This week I want to talk about power. Not like, Jedi Knight kind of power. Oh, unlimited power. None of that. No. I want to talk about electrical power and why you should really care how much is used by your electronics. For much of the country, the summer is the time that electrical use skyrockets, and as your bill goes up, you tend not to notice the little things that are keeping it high. You notice that air conditioning bill shoots things up especially, but you might not notice some of the other things. Take a look at all those chargers that you're using. If you're like me, you've got an ebook reader or two, a tablet or two, a couple of phones, a camera, bunch of stuff. And I bet you keep those chargers plugged in all the time. I know I do. And think about it. Each one of those chargers can be using as much as a 5 or 10 watt bulb. In other words, you could be using as much electricity as if you were leaving a 60 watt incandescent bulb on all the time. Most chargers suck power whether or not they're charging anything. You probably didn't know that. And yet, even though most of us would never think of leaving a light on 24/7, we have no problem with leaving a charger going at that same time, using the same amount of power. There's an easy solution, of course, and that's to put all your chargers on a power strip with a switch, and then only turn the switch on when you're actually using those chargers. You can also just keep the chargers in a drawer and only plug them in when you're using them. That doesn't seem terribly organized, and for those of us who like to have a nice organized spot where all of our charging takes place, it's just not terribly desirable. This is a case where in a couple of years, we could see some real progress on this. Look at Energy Star. DirecTV jumped in with both feet into Energy Star because customers really wanted it. And now DirecTV receivers and DVRs use a lot less power than they used to. In fact, if you compare something like the C41 client to a regular 2-tuner DVR, the difference in power usage is massive. It wouldn't take much to build a charger that had a simple circuit in it that detected whether or not there was continuity on the plug. In other words, whether or not something was plugged in, and to not draw any power except for that tiny little amount of power used to detect that continuity unless something was actually plugged in. Why is that not down now? Because people aren't demanding it. Think about it. Do you really ever choose one piece of electronics over the other because the charger is more energy efficient? No, you don't. If you're going to buy a replacement charger, you might say, okay, I'll buy the manufacturer's replacement charger because it's probably better built, but otherwise you're really pretty much shopping on cost, aren't you? Adding something like that adds cost when you first buy it. And that's going to be a problem if that's the only thing people are looking at. On the other hand, if you were able to look somehow at how much energy you'd use over the life of that charger, you might get an idea that paying a little bit more up front is actually a pretty good idea. Sometimes that's just not how capitalism works, even though maybe it should. There isn't much you can do about this other than try to let manufacturers know how important it is to you. In the short term, like I said, get a power strip with a switch, and that'll solve all your problems. That about does it for the Solid Signal podcast this week. If you have an idea for future podcasts, push that orange Suggest a Topic button at the upper right-hand corner of blog.solidsignal.com, and I hope I hear from you soon. Until then, have a great week.